Welcome to It's All Fine and Dangy, where we talk about community, health, culture, and all of the big and little things that make life good. Here are your hosts, Dan and Angie.
Hey guys, we want to welcome you to a special episode of It's All Fine and Dangy. Today we're meeting with the Apopka Alumni Association, and I just also want to get out real quick here. If you hear noise in the background, we are recording today out on the Wekiva River at Wekiva Island.
So if you hear a boat motor.
That's right. We've heard a couple already, but it's beautiful out here, and so maybe you'll get a little bit of the ambiance if you hear background noise. But we're sitting here with Holly Condrey, who is the chair of the Apopka Alumni Association, and Heidi Reynolds, who is the co-chair of the Alumni Association as well. So welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming out so early.
Yes.
Thank you for having us on a Saturday. Lovely Saturday.
Yes, It's beautiful out.
It is.
It's a good start to the Mother's Day weekend.
Absolutely.
That's when we're recording.
That is. Yeah, it's going to be a busy one too. So let me ask you guys a question to start with. The Alumni Association is relatively new, correct?
Correct.
How long have you guys had this running, and like when was it formed and how did it come about, and what made you guys start it?
We officially launched, or I shouldn't say that, we had our first meeting in January, and probably by March officially launched a website that is set up through Orange County Public School Foundation.
Right.
The concept, I would think 2 years at least. We've casually talked about it amongst different folks that we'd run into in the Apopka community, mostly at games, of course.
Right.
Or those of us that are somewhat otherwise tied and connected, still friends. But it seemed like every time I would have the conversation, it was always the same answer. That's a great idea. But who wants to kind of do the paperwork and the footwork? And so it just kind of stayed there for a while until, you know, my kids start getting into the high school realm, and it really amps up a little bit more, or at least it did for me.
Because you're a little more involved and around
Well, I never
people.
had kind of gone away. This is actually my second kid through now, but I think just the desire and need and the timing was right.
Cool.
Well, that's awesome. So how long?
Sorry.
I was going to say, how long has it been going now? How long has the association been together, started? Roughly, not necessarily exactly.
Literally, we had our first meeting in January, late January, and just decided to hold them monthly until we could kind of get some legs underneath of it, establish some how we wanted it to look, how we wanted it to run. I don't think we're fully there yet, but I think we're well on our way to getting organized, is probably the best way that I can put it. By March, we had somewhat gelled together a group that we now know as just an interim board for the first year, mostly because Orange County required that per their standards that you had to name the decision makers, if you will.
That's what I was going to ask. How many board members do you have? Do you need any more, or is that set because that's what's required in order to start?
I think for this year we're set. Initially, the first meeting, we had about 11 or 12 people show up.
Okay.
And consistently through those meetings, those same people continued to show up. So they were designated kind of the board.
Right.
Yeah, because that shows commitment right there.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. They're interested.
Right. And so moving forward, we said we would just see those original 11, 12 as the board. Mm-hmm. And there are 3, I guess, designated titles within the board, Holly being the chair, myself being the co-chair, and then Andy Hurd being the treasurer.
Right.
And those are the required.
Yes. Orange County.
At the minimum.
Orange County required us to have, my title is co-chair / secretary also.
Okay.
So
2 titles.
Jack of all trades.
Yes, there you go.
Right.
So I think moving forward, I think we plan to leave it as is. And then come January or whenever, I think probably January, we'll open it up to say, if you'd like to be on the board, here's the meeting to come to. If you'd like to run for a position, please feel free to come to the meeting and speak for yourself as why you would like to have that position. And
so they kind of stand up and say why they would like to be on the board.
Right, as a nominee. And then we'll.
This is all new to me, so.
as well as to us. So
yes, it was, we were trying to just like work in progress, like trying to learn as we went.
Sure.
But your question about do we need more board members? The problem becomes with, and it's, I don't know if it's a problem, but
Challenge.
when it's a challenge, when you're at meetings and you have so many voices and so many opinions,
Yes.
you can kind of get in the weeds or go down rabbit holes.
Of course.
And the meetings end up being 3 and 4 hours long.
Of debate, of just debate.
Yes. And excitement. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
true excitement, like, oh, we want to do this and this and
Yeah,
this.
I can relate for sure.
Yeah. So you have to try to rein that in because you don't want to drive people away that say, I don't have 3 hours even once a month to come and sit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta condense it. Yeah.
So Holly had really tried to make an effort for the last 2 meetings to say, listen, we need to focus on this.
The outline.
Yes. So I'm not discouraging people to not
course.
come to the meetings. We
Yes.
absolutely want that.
Yeah.
But just know that it could turn into that
Right.
as we're learning and moving and progressing.
Yes.
Hopefully, as we get some more months under our belt, some more meetings under our belt, we'll learn how to navigate through that. And we have had some people who in the community, Robbie Manley specifically, who is on many boards,
Yeah.
come and kind of navigate for us
Help
and
put some
say,
structure
this
around
is
it.
really what
Yeah.
you should be saying if you want a motion on the floor and you need someone to second it, so that it's all very legitimate.
Yes.
And that it's
Not
transparent.
chaos, right?
Right. So I think moving forward, if we can try to start implement some of those things, I think it will start to move a little more smoothly.
Right. Well, I think it's a learning process for anyone,
Absolutely.
right? At my day job, Angie can vouch for me here, I spend 6 to 8 hours a day on the phone managing meetings of people in the U.S. and Canada. And I have learned over the years doing that without an agenda that is strictly adhered to, the thing, it's a little different from what you guys are doing. But for me, the things that start creeping in that aren't in the agenda start getting put in a bucket for the next meeting because we got to keep our eye on the ball. Or just like you said, we will start going down the rabbit hole. We call it in the weeds.
Yes.
And I have to reel it in sometimes because you'll have a 3-hour meeting and realize you got to item 2 on your 10 things to go through.
Yes, we've been there.
Yes.
So you said you guys have been meeting once a month. When do you normally meet and where?
I think we've decided that we're doing the last Monday of each month. As in this particular month, that would make that Memorial Day. So we're going to move this kind of being an exception. But going forward, trying to kind of keep that more consistent so that everybody can schedule ahead and be available.
And
best they
hopefully
can.
get that timing down so that they know they have
Right.
an hour of their time, right? It's going to be.
Well, and it just kind of falls into line with everything else we're trying to do to streamline the process and make it more, official as possible.
we'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
And we try to meet at local restaurants or, businesses in the community. So the next meeting will be at Sonny's Barbecue.
Okay.
But if you follow the Alumni Association on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, we always post the meeting notifications and it will tell you the time and place and you can accept or show that you're interested so that you can follow if the meeting were to be canceled or the time changed.
And that way you get an idea of how many
Right.
people may be coming.
Right. But we always put where the location is.
Right.
But, and so that's another thing that we're trying to do is transparent. We're not going to stay at one business, one restaurant.
Yeah, because you're supporting
And
Apopka.
pay-
Right.
Exactly.
No
Support the
favoritism there. I
community.
love
Yeah.
that. That's great. So who can become an alumni? Can you become an alumni once you graduate high school immediately? Can those that are still in school participate, for example, like earning volunteer time for college or whatever? I mean, have you guys outlined specifically who can and who cannot join yet?
Well, the website gives designations of
Okay.
what anyone can be an alumni.
Okay.
The choices are I'm a graduate,
Right?
I'm a faculty member, I'm a former teacher, I'm a parent, I'm a spouse.
That's
Oh,
good. To
really?
me,
Okay.
that's great.
Yeah.
So anyone can be part of the Alumni Association. We have had current seniors who will graduate on May 20th. Actually, one, she came to the Foliage Festival and she was the first of this
2019
class, 2019 class.
Active class
And
member.
she signed up.
Well, she's smart because that's a great thing for a college resume too.
Yes. So, anyone really can be part of the Alumni Association. You don't have to have graduated from Apopka. If you have a love and passion for Apopka High School and would like to see the gap shrink between what taxpayer money can be allocated for and what we can help with,
Right.
then we absolutely would like for you to be a part of the Alumni Association.
That's great.
Interesting. I never knew that. I thought
didn't
you
either.
have to be part of the school.
I know who's getting a shirt.
I think traditionally that's how many of them run, but we didn't want to turn away anyone that was genuinely interested or wanted to, any active service or things that we might be participating in. We didn't want to turn that
Support.
that support from the community. I didn't think, however, of the current student population because I've got a rising sophomore, and I know Heidi, they do as well. And he had to come to last month's meeting only because football practice got out so late. I had to drag him straight from there to the meeting.
Right.
And
Well, I was thinking
he wanted to contribute. We kept telling him, "You're not alumni yet. You don't have a voice here yet." But I guess it's something to think about.
Well, because they're, usually, seniors that are going for scholarships or just wanting to get things on their resume for when they apply to colleges, anything that they can put that they were active in, and they can earn volunteer hours for that, because you have to have a certain amount of volunteer hours.
Absolutely.
Correct.
So I was just thinking that could be something that would be available to them.
Okay.
I mean, then they can learn, even if they come and set up refreshments or anything like that. That's what volunteering is for, right? You have a little extra help.
I think the genesis, when you kind of pull apart all the layers of what we're trying to do, is that very thing, is for our current students to see that those of us that have left still can return in however capacity that is, because we have folks from around the country that are following us and paying attention and asking to participate, and even if it's in a financial way, but just they're watching.
Right.
But
They may not live here anymore, but they're
Absolutely,
still
but they're
looking
still
at what their
very much,
community is
they're
doing.
following the football games or things that are just posted throughout the high school website pages. But that was one of my biggest things, was to have them see at this age that people do still care and that we do want to give back, and that hopefully that plants that seed for, may not have been the next 5 years or 10 years, but that they will return in some capacity to pay it forward.
Yeah, because me and Dan were talking, and usually it's like once you graduate,
you're done.
You're nothing else.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going. I'm out of here, right? It's like this freedom thing. Like,
Maybe especially
breaking away.
at first. I think there's a level of maturity sometimes where you're just like, forget school, forget that, so that I could see a buffer for many students where the time between graduation and then re-interest in it is there. It would definitely would have been there for me. So
That's a discussion we had that when we had our first meeting, was who is really our target audience.
Right.
And we felt like it was probably people that 20 years out
yes.
from graduation really kind of start to reflect and look back on what those years meant to them. It isn't really the recent graduate.
Right.
But not that we would turn them away. And I think we have found, and I think this may be part of the reason why we opened it to anyone, is that there are many parents of Apopka graduates. The parent didn't go to Apopka, but they had moved here, raised their family here, their children went there, and they have become very passionate about Apopka High School.
Right.
And so therefore they're like, what can I do? I'm not an alumni, but my children are, but I love the school. I love the community. So that's kind of allows them to be part of it.
Right.
The teachers
Many
too.
teachers have expressed that also.
Oh,
We've had
that's
some
cool.
join.
Oh, that's great. So how many members do you have now? Not just the 11 or 12 that have came to the meetings, but how many people have signed up? Have we kept track of that, or
I don't
looked
have a hard number.
recently?
That's probably an answer for Andy. I would just think between the two events where we've done somewhat of a presence and a membership drive, I know at least well over 100, probably 150.
great.
Oh, that is great.
Our first couple of weeks.
That's a great start. That's a
is.
strong start. Yeah.
Hope so.
I mean, I think we signed 50 people up at the Foliage Festival, and I was blown away by that. I was said if we get 10,
Yeah.
I'll
It would
be
have been
so
a good day.
excited it was be successful for the 2 days.
I know
we
he
actually
had
got
to
50.
Dan had to run back out because we got so chatty, and we were like, "Oh, we have to have them on the podcast and help
Then
them."
I just walked away, and then we're in the car, and they're directing traffic, and I'm like, I didn't even sign up for the alumni thing.
So I dropped him and drove across the
But he
road.
came back.
She had to pull off to the side, and I jumped out of the driver's seat, and she jumped in, and I said, "I'll pick me up in a minute." So yeah, that's great. So let's talk about your current efforts for a minute. I know we talked about the Dewey Darter statue, and so I want to get into that a little bit. and any other things that you guys may be doing or planning in the future we could touch on as well. But let's talk about the efforts to restore the statue for a minute.
The darter bird.
That's right.
The famous darter bird.
He is our passion right now.
You know, I graduated in 89, so it was the old building and that was the entrance, and it was still nice and in the middle of the lake as far as I can remember.
Yes.
After we talked at the Foliage Festival, I went and looked online. Interestingly, I found the 89 when I graduated was the first year they did like a digital yearbook.
Yes.
And I found this video that was like an hour and a half long.
It was like 3 hours long.
No, it's like an hour. But it was really neat to watch.
It just felt 3 hours.
But it had a little clip of the bird as well. And then I saw some pictures of the state of it now. Now, you guys told us about that at the festival, but it's bad now. It's like overgrown with weeds and it looks like it's tilted and sinking. And so tell us a little bit about the efforts to restore it and what we're thinking or what you guys are thinking in terms of what you'd like to see happen with it.
Well, I think it actually started as just a rumor amongst, actually my son and some kids had talked about it. And I approached the administration to validate the rumor because you go through the car drop-off is where you really only see that it's there. Otherwise, most people, it's either an afterthought or they don't even realize that it's there.
Is it fenced in now, too?
It is.
Okay,
it's
that wasn't the case
and
before.
It's got some trees, and it's actually a not terribly looking pond, and it's home to some ducks that I guess chase the kids, and heard different stories about that.
I have been told that the ducks are part of the ag class.
Okay, well that makes sense.
So one of the coaches last night actually told me, "Can we please make sure that we get the ducks out before construction starts, and then we can place them back in?"
Relocate them maybe
and I
or
said,
something.
I think we can cover that.
That'd be
We'll
good,
take care of the family of ducks.
I was in ag just for the record, so that's interesting.
Okay.
So once I was able to validate that with Mr. Hines and Mr. Myers, who's the assistant principal, kind of assigned to us as our liaison, he's our facilities as well. And he confirmed that that was the case. And visibly, all you can kind of see is that it's tilted and kind of leaning into the water. The water level has risen. If you look at the old videos, which Heidi was able to dig those up and kind of re-engage the conversation in a different way than we had not been looking at. But you can see where it's kind of sitting up a little bit. It's above the water. There's a beautiful fountain coming out of it. It's just like a monarch sitting there to behold back in its day. And now it looks just sad and pitiful. So we've kind of dubbed it Operation Rescue Dewey just because it's just in a sad state of affairs. And Mr. Hines had encouraged us to kind of make that our first service project. And when I say service, we're obviously raising funds through annual dues, but then as well additional fundraising for specific projects such as this, whereby we can allocate it to, that project in hand, which in this case is to start off with the bird. And it's kind of an icon to the school. It was there for many of us, decades ago. 43 years, I think we've determined as closely as possible as to when it was set there, when the prior campus in 1976 was set. So additionally, just through talking about it amongst the community, trying to figure out how we were going to approach this project, mostly just talking through my work daily within the city, contractors and different ones that may have suggestions or ideas to put us in touch with. That story has evolved. We've got a contractor whose children as well have, not he, but his children both graduated from Apopka High School. He's kind of adopted in the project.
I was going to ask if anybody's volunteered their time to help with that.
His name is Brandell George. He owns GOL Construction right here in Apopka. And he's proudly taken on the project and really just gotten the ball and run with it. So he has some other folks within his GC world that he's going to try to sub the work to. We then, last Friday, right before the Apopka Proud concert, went down to Gators, was just kind of trying to use that as an opportunity to meet and greet and potentially get some more memberships with some of the folks that had come into town for the concert, and met a woman from 1976 graduating class who had known of the company right here in Apopka still that fabricated the bird. So I called them first thing. I know. It's just, it may not have been about
Talk to everybody.
What we were there for, but what we were able to discover.
Right.
And so on Monday morning, I called them. It is Sunshine Metals and Fabricating right off of Bradshaw Road.
And they're still here.
They're still in business.
Awesome.
It was a father and son operation at the time. And when I called and finally was able to connect with Kevin, is the gentleman's name, Harbin?
Right.
He distinctly remembered every detail of being there, setting the bird on steel beams. It was lowered by a crane. His father has since passed away, but he was more than willing to step in, go down to the school, take a look at it, let us know what his observations are and how he can renovate the bird.
Wow, that's
cool.
amazing.
Is it Sunshine or Sunbelt?
Is it Sunbelt?
I
Okay,
think
maybe
it's
it's Sun.
Sunbelt.
I just
You know what,
remember
no,
the
we-
sun part, and I
we
literally
can-
Googled it.
So
Sunbelt,
we'll
okay.
look it up, and I'll put a link to it in the show
Yeah.
notes.
Yeah.
If you're listening on your device right now, there's a link underneath the description that you can click on to go find out more about the company that's
I think it's
helping
Sunbelt.
out.
I think it's Sunbelt Metals.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Right off of Bradshaw Road.
Yeah, because we definitely want to include the people that are, volunteering
Yes.
Of course.
their time to help restore that. So you guys said you're raising money through alumni signups,
Dues.
dues, and you were selling the T-shirts at
Correct.
the whatever festival.
The Foliage
Yeah,
Festival, and then the
I'm not
Apopka
saying that
Crowd.
word anymore. And so, how else are you raising funds for this? Are there, do you go to football games? Do you sell things at football games? Or have you thought of ways to do fundraisers in the future?
We're still in the infancy phase of that, but our long-term goal is, yes, we have a tent, we have a banner, we anticipate we were actually at the blue and white scrimmage game,
Oh, excellent.
Thursday night. And we plan on being at every home football game, basketball
Excellent.
game, baseball game, wherever
Wow.
they will let us set up. And it not just for a membership drive, but we anticipate doing new shirts.
Okay.
And they won't be alumni driven shirts. They will be Apopka generic. So like
Sure.
Apopka High School. Some
Yeah.
may say Apopka football.
Right.
We just don't want to step on anyone's toes who already has a t-shirt. But that's the thing. There aren't any t-shirts except at Walmart and Walgreens.
Yeah.
I remember being in school going to a game and there was always somebody that had a tent set up and they were
Yeah.
selling t-shirts.
Right.
Yeah, always.
That's not really the case. I just feel like some of the clubs don't really want to tackle that because I guess it can be a little tedious and
Sure.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good
So-
opportunity, and that's very kind of you guys to make sure you're not stepping on another local business or someone at the school doing that.
I was thinking bumper stickers too.
Well,
would be a cool
we've
thing.
thought about stickers. We thought about hats. I think
Yeah.
Andy, that's really his passion. That's what he said to us on Thursday night. On our next meeting, can we really discuss a ball cap?
Yes,
So
I'd buy one.
He's wanting a baseball cap.
If you
Sure.
can find somebody to donate embroidery time or something like that. Anybody out there? Anybody out there?
Well, and that's the other thing we're hoping to, as we talked about our meetings being at local businesses, to pay it forward. We've also wanting to engage some of the local community members who do provide services already to the clubs and different fundraising opportunities. They've already got some of the logos. So we are totally
Yeah.
utilizing some of those folks
Sure.
currently, especially with these shirts. We're
Right.
done locally as well.
So yes, we will want to have merchandise. We have also talked about anyone can donate and specify where they would like it to go. So if they went to the alumni website or through Foundry, through OCPS, they can allocate that they would like to give $500 or they like to give $150 and they can put on there that it's specifically for the bird restoration.
Oh, cool.
Oh, nice.
So you have different categories, or do they just type in?
They would type in what it's for, but then there is a drop down that allows them to choose a dollar amount
Right.
Okay.
above and beyond the membership, or they don't even have to have a membership if they would like to make a donation.
Yeah.
They could make a donation directly to us if we're set up at an event and allocate where it needs to go to. But long term, we had talked that we would like to have an annual event that's for the Alumni Association, not really a reunion because it doesn't have to be just for people that graduate from Apopka.
Right.
So we thought about some type of gala, a poker night,
Yeah, like a banquet.
a
or
banquet, something once a year. So again, you're not eating into people's time. It could be fun.
Yes.
We could
Has
have
to be fun.
Yes, we could have. Well, it's could have a silent auction. It could you could accept donations there.
Silent auctions really work well.
Right.
They really do. And you can really get the community very involved in that.
Yes.
People are always willing to give something, for those type of events.
Right.
So that's an easy thing.
So
I think,
there's
to
nothing planned, but that has been discussed, and everyone on the board was kind of like, yeah, that seems like a fair thing.
Sure.
To maybe try to make that the biggest fundraiser. But I really think that if we have t-shirts, especially at the football games, and it's not about football, but that's where you draw your biggest crowds.
Of course.
That you could make some decent money. And we would like to have maybe some game specific t-shirts. That's also been discussed
That would
about
be
some rival games that we have. If we could have some game specific shirts. So we've,
come up with a clever little saying.
we have done that. I don't know that we want to say that right now, but we have.
Keep it as a surprise.
Stay tuned. It's coming.
And you may be the first to break it when we get the shirt.
Yes.
But we, talked to the coaches and said, would this be inappropriate? Is this okay? Just because we don't want to have this shirt, and the coaches say,
It's all, you got to keep it fun.
Please don't do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, all of those things are
But the
in the
parents
work.
like to wear those kind of shirts.
Yes,
See? We
of
like
course.
to taunt. We do like to taunt. I don't know what it is about us.
I'm a football mother, and
Especially
100%.
boy moms,
Yes,
right?
Yes.
We are
That's
the
half of
taunters.
the
We're the
game.
worst ones.
Super aggressive. I'm not on the field, but I act like if you could put me in,
You're pretty loud, aren't you?
100%.
Yeah.
I humiliate my son.
You know what my son used to do? He used to, Mom, you have got to shut up. I can hear you. I said, that is the point.
And I am strategic
That
about
coach
it when
isn't
it's a
doing
quiet
his
moment.
job. I got to tell you what to do.
Tactical
I'm
and
strategic
aggressive. I
about
love it.
my shout outs for my kid. Yeah.
Nice.
That's nice and
That
quiet.
is hilarious.
So we saw you guys at the Foliage Festival, as we mentioned, and one of the things I was going to ask is sort of how else you've been letting people know, including attendees of the school, about the association. It sounds like the presence of being like at the games. Do you guys set up your tent and everything at the games? Okay, so that's a definite.
We do.
Do you do other sort of events or advertisements in the newspaper? This podcast is a good example for spreading the
Yes.
word. What other ways are you guys sort of spreading the word right now?
We started on social media on Facebook first because that's, I think, most where our generation,
Yes.
the younger ones are living still in Facebook. I put it over on Twitter, and then Heidi helped because I don't live in Instagram that great,
Yeah.
so she helped do that one.
You got to get everywhere.
Yeah, we got to be where they are.
I can't figure out Twitter.
I have a love-hate thing with all of them, honestly, but that's where everybody's communicating.
Yes,
So
of
we got to
course.
go where they go. So that is our primary thing. We're still kind of doing the old-fashioned email chains and text
Of
messages.
course. Yeah, that's great.
That people are just trying to cover all of our bases to communicate with them.
Yeah.
And John Perry actually did do a nice
Yes, he did.
write-up in the Apopka Chief.
Oh, nice.
Is it
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. It was great, long,
You know what? Yes,
lengthy
I saw
piece.
it.
Oh, that's
Yes,
awesome.
I
I
did.
wish I would have seen that.
I forgot to show that to you. I actually think I have the paper in my car still.
Oh, that's
I
great.
have a copy at my house on
Yeah,
the dining room table
I do.
if you'd like to read
Oh,
it.
I would. Yeah, for sure. That'd be great.
Because you guys were right on the front.
On the front,
And I'm like,
above the
hey,
fold.
I just met them.
I was impressed.
Oh, nice. Well, that's a
You were right above the fold. Yeah.
That's definitely getting the word out for sure.
Well, John Perry is an alum, so it was, I'm sure, not too
Well,
much of a labor of love for him, but
He was, it was passionate.
He has come to some of the meetings,
Yes, he
and
has.
he is a
great resource.
yes for all things historian about Apopka High School.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think we kind of named him historian. I don't think he knows yet.
Yes. So, John, if you're listening, you
What-
are our
That's it.
historian.
That's right.
What's John's
His
last name
official-
again? Once more?
Perry.
Perry. John Perry. Excellent. So we may reach out to him for some unrelated things. We've been talking a little bit to the Apopka Rants, Raves, and Reviews people
Yes.
that are going to manage that, and we may be doing a project around the history of Apopka. But
Yeah.
That's-
Stay
I-
tuned.
I
to get
actually-
families more involved in the community as well.
yeah.
I actually just trying to find old videos of the bird. I've actually found a picture collage somewhere that it looked like it was linked from Orlando Sentinel, but it showed photos, like 36 photos of Apopka, and it actually showed a photo of the original schoolhouse that was
Is that the ones you
from
posted?
1918.
Okay, so I posted on the Rants, Raves, and Reviews maybe 15 or 20 old pictures that I've had forever from the internet somewhere, but it had the old school. It had some recognizable areas too, like where 436 and 441 come together, but it was like all orange groves. Some of the like downtown Apopka streets where the city hall is,
right.
There's like a Model T. It's really cool to see
Which
that
is where the
stuff.
first schoolhouse was.
Well, was
Yeah.
was the photo of where it had been destroyed? On the photo they had wrote destroyed by cyclone, which
Correct.
I would
It
think
was-
is a
Yes.
hurricane.
Yes.
So what was then the city hall location was the second building from the first that was destroyed.
So where was the first originally that was destroyed?
it was in that same spot, but
Okay.
it was just demolished.
So I thought, wow.
Yeah, and
So-
it may
and
not,
so-
that may not be my post, but mine included that. So,
Okay.
some of them are similar.
I
But
highly encourage all of you, but definitely you guys, to go down to our little history center. As you go into the left, there's an entire wall dedicated to Apopka High School. It shows
wow.
report cards.
Yeah, in City
It
Hall.
shows diplomas going all the way back to 1909. So it's
I'd love to see
really,
that.
really cool. And the yearbooks, and they're all in there all the way up to the
Oh,
generations.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I
It's
didn't
very,
see
very,
that.
very, you'll learn a lot in there.
I went in
about
there
Apopka
just
High School.
talking to people whenever we, out networking. So have you guys thought about reaching out to any past alumni? We have some famous people that have graduated from Apopka and moved on to be very successful. Have you thought about reaching out to those people to come back for like commencement speeches, at graduations, things like that? I mean, I think big, like
sure.
think, ooh,
Sure.
big.
We do know that there are numerous athletes that have left Apopka
Yes.
High School. But above and beyond that, we know that there are alumni that are in other fields. And so we're currently trying to determine and figure out who some of those are and make connections. But again, it's a very delicate dance with that,
Yes.
because I do know that a lot of the athletes that have left and have gone on to have greater success privately give to the school
Yes.
and fund their specific sport, whether it be basketball, baseball, football.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to become too like, oh, we're the Alumni Association. You're an alumni. Could you give us $5,000?
Right.
So and I think that's been addressed to us by people at the school, not just the administration, but just be aware that they give already.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't want to be knocking on the same door, but we would love to have.
Yeah, I would say reach out for them. Excuse me. More for like encouragement for the students that are there to say, look what you can do in the future. Follow your dreams.
I would love
chase
to
your
have that
dreams.
on an actual website. Currently, we're just operating on a page through OCPS Foundation.
Right.
But I would like, I think very soon we may be doing that, but have an actual website whereby we could list, not that all of us haven't contributed in some way. Nobody knows me outside of here, but I would love to kind of have a wall of fame, if you will, on not only our website, but someone at the last meeting even actually mentioned that. Have something in the school where we be allocated a little space that we could do something to showcase that there are people that have gone on and done some great things and even come back, such as we are, big and small ways.
Yeah, because a lot of
to give
people have
back.
moved back to this community to either retire after they've been, other places and doing their career, whatever they're doing, or bring their family back here to raise them.
Yeah.
Well,
And we
a lot
all
of
say
people-
we're not going to do that, right?
Well, exactly. And we just talked about that earlier. You can't wait to get out of school and leave this place. But I recently was listening to a newly elected commissioner for the city of Apopka, Alexander Smith, was at one of our meetings. And I think he said it best recently in that when he left high school, he went away to college in Tallahassee, got his degree, and he could hardly wait to come back to Apopka. Ended up working through the school system as an ag teacher,
wow.
FFA, I guess it is.
Yep.
And he did serve in the different community, kind of through ag with West Orange and Dr. Phillips. But his passion was always to come back and give back to the Apopka community. In his words, a place that gave so much to him.
Funny how that works, isn't it?
But the point being that many people, unless you heard him speak about that or you saw his bio, may not know that we have a commissioner right here who has come up through the school systems, gone to college, and come back, and is doing what he's doing for the community and service.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, yes, that is a goal that we really would like to highlight alumni that have gone on, whether it be business, sports, medicine, to highlight that, look, they started here. Here's their words of encouragement. And even if we could have them come to a gala and be a keynote speaker, or come to, if the Alumni Association could sponsor some type of senior breakfast or something and have them speak.
Yes.
Those are all ideas. But, again.
Even if they could, send in a video.
Sure.
That you could present at the gala or whatever cool event. I'm going to come to that because I know it's going to be fun.
It's going to be amazing.
And certainly this is about funding and fundraising,
Yes.
but a part of it too that several of us have talked about is the mentorship that could potentially
Yes.
be the networking even of those of us as we reconnect as alumni. But the mentorship to the students is so gravely needed, I think.
Yeah, and teaching them at that young age how to network and selling themselves when they go out into the community. I think that's
a
really
lost
important thing.
Yep.
It is a lost art. So to teach them that That would
they're
be,
all doing the text
on their
thing.
phone,
And
yeah.
and they got that down pat. They know how to network like that,
Yeah.
right? But there's still that face-to-face networking.
That's a lost art. I read more and more about
That's
how
never going to go anywhere. You still have to do that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I guess my interest in that question that Angie was asking about the speeches was also around, you see videos of famous or somewhat famous people doing the speech to the seniors as they're graduating. And it made me wonder the same thing. Like, we've had some famous people through different, I know of the sports ones, but as you mentioned, Heidi, through different careers outside of sports even, how cool would it be for them to be able to, in some form or fashion, speak to graduating classes and things like that? That would be.
I don't know why anybody didn't think of that.
I think
That's a great idea. We've got so many.
Yeah, I think that it would be an amazing idea. Obviously, it wouldn't be able to happen for this senior class.
Of course.
But I definitely think that is on a list for us to try to address for the class of 2020.
Yeah. Because those things are really inspiring. I remember going through graduation, and even in those moments of "get me out of here," it's negative. when you go now and you look at speeches from famous people that they're giving back to their college or whatever, it's powerful,
right?
And it could change some perspectives about the value of what they've been through in the system they've been through in Apopka, because we talked a little bit about that, how it's common sometimes for kids to graduate and say, I want to get out of Apopka. But, that could skew the view a little bit about, wow, look at this person has come back and is acknowledging what they went through and the value of it, especially if it's someone famous.
Yes.
When the power of their words, I just posted the other day a little clip of an article, and again, I know it goes back to an athlete, but Chandler Cox, that just recently was drafted this past week in the NFL, and if he said it one time, he said it 3 times in the interview, that it was always about Apopka. He did it for the team. He did it for the name on his chest.
Cool.
And that's the type of, I think, spirit that we're trying to embrace here, that it's bigger than me. It's bigger than self. This is about a place that we've loved and are very passionate about. And we want to hopefully have some of these kids walk away knowing that we've made somehow a small difference. Maybe they don't realize it today, but that people genuinely come back and reinvest and that we do care.
Yeah.
Right.
And they will realize it in the future. I keep losing my voice.
That's okay. It's early-ish.
I haven't even been talking that.
Another thing I was going to ask, we touched a little bit on the reunions and how you were saying, well, that's not necessarily the reunions, but I've noticed as an alumni from 89, Apopka High School, gotta get that plug in there. The reunions it's cool how they're doing it, but it also seems kind of like that there's not necessarily an official one, or these other ones happen that are
just meet at a restaurant and have some drinks.
And it looks like they have a great time. And I came to one of them a couple of years ago, but have you guys thought about getting involved in a sort of, I don't want to say reunion, but like helping to get previous classes together to meet for those kinds of things? Because it doesn't seem like there's an official way that's really working well.
It's funny you should say that, because John G. Engrossi, who is on our board.
We know John. Yeah.
Class of 1988.
Yep.
Same year as me. We had this discussion at the Apopka Proud concert that he was on a committee that was trying to do the 30... Oh, I can't believe I'm saying that.
Oh, I know.
30-year reunion of 1988.
Take that back.
I know. Stop it. And they had found some great venues and put deposits down. And I believe it was Tina Lewis who had kind of spearheaded it.
Sure.
But people just weren't interested. I think he said they only had like 10 people sign up. And our discussion was, we feel like social media has killed the reunions.
Because you feel like you see everybody all the time.
You see everyone. So back in the day, before there was social media, you couldn't wait the 10 years to get everyone to come back in town and see each other.
Right.
Or the 20 years. But now there is social media, so you could just search the person's name and see their whole life history. Oh, they have 5 kids. They work at, Lockheed Martin.
Right.
Whatever. So then there's no drive to go and see them again.
I hadn't thought of that.
So I said, John, I agree with you. I said, I think that's what has happened.
Yeah.
And so the groups that you do see that go and do meet, I feel like they're already a close-knit group of people anyway.
They don't want any outsiders in.
Right. Well, not that they wouldn't welcome you, but it's like, oh, we already hang out together. Let's just do this together and say it's a reunion.
Yeah.
And they would welcome you to come.
Of course.
But they're already a group within themselves. Now, I know that there have been some semi-successful multi-class reunions.
Yes, that's what I've noticed, like 3-year spread.
Right.
Yeah.
I have not gone to any of my reunions. I'm just going to put that out there.
I haven't either.
I apologize. I just haven't.
I went to one of those 3-year spread ones maybe, 6 or 7 years ago at the very end when it was like an hour left and it was really cool, but it was same thing like you said. Although everyone was super friendly and kind, it was a group that kind of hang out together. So it was like going to someone's house where you're invited, but most of them already hang out.
Probably have kids around the same age and have those type of things in common. Yeah.
So, hey, if our gala or whatever we want to call it kind of facilitates that and can maybe open up that avenue,
yes,
that might be a positive thing.
Yeah,
I just think people think, John said the once they canceled it, he said like 20 people emailed him and said, well, can I still get tickets? And he said, it was open for 3 months and we canceled it.
Goodness.
And Tina actually lost all the deposit money that she put down.
Oh, no.
So he said, but people kind of scoffed at, it's $125 a ticket. And so I
think that's something in Apopka you're going to fight with a little bit.
Right.
True. You know,
yes.
I think we've seen that. So
I think it's the piece of the social media world and the price that they're looking at. And do I really want to pay that to go hang out with people that maybe I particularly wasn't friends with? But I'm thinking it's been 30 years.
Yeah, people change.
But
people change too.
Side to that.
The person that you might have hated might be your BFF.
Exactly.
You know,
and I can tell you, not really hated, but from my own experience on social media. So I wasn't like a social butterfly. I wasn't a really good kid. I was in a little bit of a rough crowd, good friends in the crowd though. But through social media over the past 15 years, I feel like I've become good Facebook friends with a lot of people that I kind of knew or didn't know, or we were in totally separate cliques and they wouldn't have really conversed with me much. So people change dramatically, myself and other people included. So that's a great point.
Yeah.
Where
you're looking at two.
Yeah.
We ran in completely polar opposite cliques in school.
Oh, wow.
I knew her.
Yeah.
She knew me. We spoke like, hi, whatever. But now
there's no hanging on the weekends.
No.
But see,
there wasn't.
That's okay to say though, because that shows us how we change.
But now, like blowing our phone up. When are we going to Gainesville? When are we doing this?
But that also shows you the value of there's a level of maturity that comes with growing up. That no matter how mature you may have been in high school, it's a whole. Nobody cares. Nobody that's matured really cares anymore. So those thoughts that we all have about that person or those groups that probably don't want to talk to me or I don't want to talk to them. It's a whole different world when we're all grown with kids. There's a lot of commonality and a lot of things to talk about that are interesting. Whereas in high school, if you weren't in the same extracurricular, you weren't in the same circles, there's nothing to really talk about anyway.
Right. Funny side note is that when we were at the Apopka Proud concert and one of the performers said something about, let's have a drink and then let's go to Pete Hill. And I was like, oh my God, Pete Hill.
I so remember Pete Hill.
See? Okay. So John and Holly say, I've never been to Pete Hill.
Oh,
what?
Did you guys go?
I said, what? What are you talking about?
So what's funny? It was probably 8 or 10 years ago.
I was from Mount Dora and I knew what that was.
Thank you.
So I
knew what it was. It just wasn't.
Well, they said here's what they said. We were never invited. I said, no one was invited.
That was the place.
John said, I wasn't cool enough to go out there. I said, no one cared.
That's what I would have said. I wasn't.
So funny thing is, Jerry Gilliard told me it's still there. I thought they'd put houses on it.
No, it's still part of it is.
It's still there. So my husband,
a subdivision.
Well, I drove up there. It's about 10 years ago, and it's technically the spot is there, but you're looking right at the side of a neighborhood. So it's
KB Holmes is who's lived there.
So after the concert, my husband Scott Reynolds was coming home, alumni, class of 1987.
Right.
He said, turn right there. And so we turned. And as we were going down the hill, I said, this is Pete Hill. I cannot believe the road is still here.
Is it still a dirt road?
It's not. It's paved.
Okay.
But when you can get to the top, and I said, and the funny thing is that when you got to the top, you could look over and see the lights from the concert from the Apopka crowd. Cool. So I said, I can't believe Pete. I'm a little happy that the spot is still here.
There.
They haven't put a house on it.
Very reminiscent, right?
Isn't that sad? It's really
so our
sad.
next effort is going to be to put a statue out there then? No, I'm just kidding.
And I think we should do a podcast from there.
Well, it's funny. When I did go out there, so I just pulled my truck at the time up.
No, we should do a Facebook Live from out there. That would be
that
great.
would be so interesting.
That would be great.
Well, so I just pulled up and stopped, and I was by myself. I'm looking around, and there was a couple coming down from the neighborhood, and they stopped and looked at me like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Okay, I'm leaving." So it probably looked weird for somebody just sitting there, but I have a lot of great memories of that. From
You
high
and
school.
me both.
Yeah.
And if you do a Facebook Live, Holly and John could be your guests for the first time they've ever been to Pete Hill.
That
my
would be
goodness.
wonderful.
To see the subdivision
Oh,
Does not count.
on city business. And somebody mentioned, this used to be the high school hangout. I was like,
That does not count,
Okay, well, I
Holly.
guess I've gone once.
Yeah.
We need to ask John Perry why it's called Pete Hill.
Yes, that would be interesting
There's
to
some
know that.
history
There's
right there.
That's
Nobody
right.
knows?
I don't know.
I didn't know that.
Well, see, we got to do some research now. He's
I
the
know.
research king, so there you go. All right, guys. So if someone is listening right now from Apopka and they want to become an alumni, where do they find you? What's the website? How are they going to get their dues in and get started with helping the first efforts of restoring the statue?
Okay, I think Holly is pulling up the actual
Website.
the link to go to the
Yes.
Foundry page because it's very long.
Oh, because
Yep.
you're going through the county, right?
Right. So we shortened it to a you can
Like
a
the bit URLs that are shorter. And
Yes.
and just for those listening, I'll also put that on the show notes so you
Be
can just
easier
click
to
it.
just click on it.
yes.
And also I'll put it on our website for if you want more information around it.
Yeah, but let them know social media and everything where they can find you.
So again, we are on all three majors: the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's literally just Apopka High School Alumni Association, so you can search us that way. Our profile picture is the crest, the Apopka High School crest, because I think there was another one or two that may have been started in the
make
past.
sure you go to the right one.
But yeah, so it's got the Apopka High School crest with a black background, which we've kind of adopted in as one of our logos. As far as how the money and or registering as membership, it is a bit, so it's bit.ly/Apopka HSAA for Apopka High School Alumni Association. And then that'll direct you to the OCPS Foundation page, of which we have our own page there with the same logo, so everything should match. And then you can continue on with the steps to register.
Excellent.
And we'll get a
And-
notification.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that. And then I'll also put the link on there just for ease of use if
Correct.
you want to click.
And the county as well, I don't know if you've received it, but you should get a letter as well because it's tax deductible. The donation
I'm-
to the,
I'll have to check
the county
that.
will send you a letter, official letter that you can write it off. So
So I have one more question before we wrap up. You mentioned a website. Is someone building that?
we've talked to a number of different folk that have some experience. Matter of fact,
We got a notification last night.
Kim Massey, if you're familiar with the football world, you'd know the Massey name, but she sent me the start of something to see if it's anything that we're interested in.
Okay.
We've just kind of been asking around because I have no technology expertise because I'm at the mercy of somebody kind of helping us with that, but I would love to have an actual website.
Yep. So I'm not to step on her toes. I'm an IT director in my day job for 20-something years now. I've been in the industry forever. I can help to get you guys started or maybe help with her, but there's a lot of sort of templated style services out there that
Yes.
are either free or very inexpensive.
Very easy
I
to
have
use.
several
And that may be what she said.
like a Wix or something like that. But I can kind of show you guys. I've built several websites for clients as sort of side work. We've got our own websites built on some of that stuff, and it works beautifully. The nice thing about it is you can manage it after that, and it's a literally drag and drop. It's great. It's like making a PowerPoint or something like that.
Well, not only would we love to have the membership listed there in a directory, I would love to, highlight some of the things that we're doing, our
Yes.
accomplishments, so that people transparently know what we're
And where
what
you've
we've
been or
accomplished,
where you're going to be. That's my next question. Where are you guys going to be next? Where could people find you next? Setting up in a football game or?
Well, the spring football game is away.
Baseball games as well.
Softball.
Oh, softball.
The girls softball team is playing at Dr. Phillips
Oh, nice.
on Tuesday night, and it's that makes them 2 or 3 games away from playing for state.
They'll win
Oh,
that. If they
wow.
win that one, when they win that one, they'll
When,
come back
yeah.
home.
Yes.
That will then qualify them for the quarterfinal, the last 4 teams, which is all being played in Vero Beach. I just talked to a softball dad. He was actually asking for some alumni help, which is the only reason why I know all this. But They will then go play the quarterfinal down in Vero, and the last 4 teams standing, then the winners of O2 will play the state game the very next day.
Oh, exciting.
So
Which happens to be the same weekend, of our spring game that they play Friday, and then Saturday is the championship.
So when they beat Dr. Phillips on Tuesday, they'll come back home. So we will be there at that home game. As I was saying, the spring football game is Friday night, but it's over in Spruce Creek.
Right.
So
you don't normally set up
we
on
won't
away
set up
games.
on away games.
Yeah.
We'll have our banner and be sitting there and showing our sport, obviously, because my son is on the team and my husband is a coach, so I have to be there. Of
course.
But I would go there
want to be
anyway
there.
Of course.
As an alumni because I love all things Apopka. So I would say the next home softball game is when we're slated to set up.
Okay.
Beyond that, we're fixing to go into summer break. So I think it might be a time to, for us to pause, reflect, regroup after this initial drive.
Yeah.
When we first got started to see where we are. And again, if you follow us on social media, we will put
Where you're
dates
gonna
and
be.
times where we're going to be. And we'll always be at home football games,
Right.
basketball games, baseball games. And we'll try to filter in other events if it's
Sure.
a band concert, if it's a drama night.
That's what I was going to say.
To be at those other
extracurriculars too.
extracurricular, and because that's something else. We talked about the bird, but there are also other needs. We've been told that, for example, maybe the photography club has antiquated
Classes.
cameras and needs better cameras. So we're covering all of those things. So if you're in a club, if you're in an extracurricular,
It's kind of all things Apopka.
if you are needing something
Yes.
and you're on faculty, if you're a student, reach out to us.
Right.
Let it see if it could be an initiative that we could help you with. It doesn't have to necessarily be something that costs $5,000. It could be, we need
little.
$250 to buy this or enter this.
Right.
The Alumni Association would love to be able to vote on that and be able to help that. So I don't want people to think it's just big things and it's only sports. It's everything Apopka.
Right. And I think
cool.
you're going to find members of the active and members of the association, those of us that have grown up, you're going to have different levels of passion, of involvement
Sure.
around sports.
That's
Like
right.
as soon as you said photography, my eyes lit up because
Right.
that would be something that would be more interesting to me to
Sure.
help with.
Well, band parents are very involved too.
Yes,
And
they are.
drama parents.
Yes.
So those are good people to have involved. So I like to think big, right? So I think of like just huge success and in the future. So a lot of alumni, they, get good amounts of donations from either anonymous donors or whoever it is. And then they eventually have students apply or offer scholarships.
That is also.
So are you thinking into the future like that
Yes.
and how you will have these awesome scholarships for students or possibly even alumni college students as well? Because I know sometimes they let college students apply, financial need or whatever it is, whatever the rules are that you make up to be able to apply for those scholarships. So is that something you've thought about for the future? I mean, I know I just go like, let's just dream big, right?
We have definitely mentioned that right off the bat when we were getting started. From everything from what Heidi has mentioned, from the bird to filling the food pantry to helping with Thanksgiving meals, to back to school haircuts, back to school supply drives, any of those things that you can think big or small, all the way up to the end of the year portion of which we would love to be able to supplement some type of a scholarship. The school actually had one that was named of our I guess 2 principals ago, Mr. Guthrie, who was also an Apopka alum, and she worked there as well. Melanie Guthrie had passed away, and so the scholarship at that time was named after her. I don't know where, and I've even asked the administration where that was, if that's something that we could supplement and tie in, but it apparently has actually gone away. So this could be an opportunity for us to step in that gap and meet some of those needs, whether it's one large one or for 2, something academic, something athletic.
Yeah.
I don't really know what that's going to look like today, but we
Cool.
are definitely wanting to have some of that residual amount available.
Awesome. Awesome.
I'm changing gears just for a second. I just have one thought about the calendar of events and where you guys are going to be and what you're going to be doing. That's something else that could be easily put on the website. So
Yes, that's-
it's
Yeah,
a single source of
absolutely,
data
yeah.
information. Sorry, I wasn't trying to skip around the other topic.
You'll
but
forget if you don't say it, though.
I would have forgotten. So
I know I would have.
as we're wrapping up, we can't thank you guys enough for coming on. And I also wanted to say, as you know, I'm now a member of the Alumni Association as
Yes, you
well.
are.
So I'd love to be involved and help however I can, but also for our podcast, if there's ever a time that you want to get an announcement out, you want us to mention something that's coming up or want to come back on the show, please let us know. We'd love to have you guys on again. This has been great.
Thanks so
or
much
if you
for
just
having
want us
us.
to post it, just remember that or say it, but just remember we're not live. So
Sure.
we gotta know ahead of time.
Right.
Unless we do a Facebook Live.
Which we're going to at Pete Hill.
Pete Hill.
That's right.
Party at Pete Hill.
Yeah, that's it.
That would be really fun, actually. I'm sorry.
I think it might be your highest rated show. I'm just
Oh my gosh, I know. We can't. How do you do that though? Because I remember back in the day, you didn't want to get the word out too much and get.
Are
in
you
trouble.
going to drink and do the podcast at the same
Why
time?
not?
Hey, if it's not live, maybe.
Actually, you might want to make sure that one of your special guests is Robbie Manley, because he has some interesting stories during his chief of police time. I'll just
Coming out to Pete Hill to say, go home,
I'll
children.
Leave that. No, it's even more colorful. So I'll leave the suspense there. So
That's awesome. So I went to school with Mark Manley.
Yes.
He graduated in '89. He was
Younger
part of my
brother.
graduating
Yeah.
class. Yeah. So again, thank you guys so much for coming on. I think we're going to wrap up now. And I wanted to mention to everyone that's listening, please don't forget that you can contact Angie and I anytime at the podcast at 407-490-3899 or email us at feedback@fineanddangie.com. Again, that's Dangie, Danjee. And we will see you guys in the next one.
That's right. But one more thing. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe, as we say at the end of every podcast.
That's right.
And thanks so much. And guys, remember, at the end of the day, it's all fine and dandy.